Welcome back. This is Politics Today. Hapa tunachapa siasa. Let me begin with our sign language interpreter, Esther Kendi. And our guest today is Donald. I'm learning how to call that Donald. You know, we write it Donald. we pronounced it Donald. Okay.
Yes.
Donald. Yeah. Actually, I used to call it Donald. So, Donald Obonyo. And my name is JONAH SIMBA. Get in touch with us, Chapa Siasa na Sisi, 0111980384. Especially the youth out there. You're supposed to be seated right now, probably with your popcorns, groundnuts, whatever, because you need to understand that this is another generation, Donald. We are in the digital economy, and these young people need to understand what is just about to fall in their hands. When you're moving into 2030, you remember Vision 2030, it's a clear indication we are crossing the line into another generation. And there are some last dinosaurs here. The last dinosaurs we are talking about here are not people. These are big matrimony, for lack of a better word. Corruption, marginalization, and a huge public debt. This is something that may mess the coming generation. Am I right?
You're right.
Now, this government, are you seeing them really able to pay this debt, even just by quarter? Now we are doing 11 trillion. By the way, they said they will not go beyond the cap when they came into power, right?
Yes.
They have gone beyond 10 trillion. Was the cap lifted in parliament?
Yes, Brother Jonah, you know, it's
Yes.
always very sad, you know, for politicians to, when they went to go for power,
Yeah.
they sweet talk to the public. They say sweet things, and at the end of the day, when they're in that position, they do nothing.
Right.
Yes, I say that because remember our current president, Ruto.
Right.
He was advocating, he was actually championing for debt reduction.
Mm-hmm.
He actually said he does not want to borrow externally, but to kill this demon.
Yes.
This beast. Talk about corruption.
Yeah.
But what you're saying now is totally different.
Actually, in a year and a half, we've borrowed 3 trillion.
Yes, 3 trillion from a Eurobond, and then we have 0.33 trillion from these concessionary organizations.
When you say concessionary, are you meaning the local or grants?
Yeah, the grants from abroad.
So
Which are
0.3 is not to be paid, or it's to be, it's a cheaper. You pay
cheaper,
back.
the cheaper option.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we are actually saying that Kenya Kwanza government in the last 1.5 years have already borrowed almost 3 trillion.
3.3, yes.
And counting.
Yes.
Now the question begs, even as we proceed, are we really going to get ourselves out of debt? And then of course there's been the Honorable Jimmy Wajigi's argument that really this is not the real debt we are dealing with. Is that so? Maybe you can try and dig into that.
Yes, I can try to delve in that. I think, Jonah and the viewer, what you have in public management, we have the wrong people. There could be a few.
It's a very sad reality, right?
Yeah, the right people there. There's a lot of disingenuity from our politicians. You know, politics and
leadership
is not the same things, quite two different things. You're lucky if you combine the two. Yeah?
Yeah.
If you're hybrid.
Yeah.
But what has come out clear is that people, leaders whom we have as politicians,
right,
they messed up the running operations of the country. And that's why you see our debt levels escalating.
Okay.
Day in, day out. Instead of borrowing and increase production,
right,
we are instead directing these funds to these expenses for paying salaries, for example.
That's the recurrent
expenditure.
Right.
Instead of investing in capital expenditure. And another thing is, instead of minimizing corruption,
right,
we are letting it thrive. This has really killed our economy, and I don't see soon getting out of the woods.
Did I hear the controller of budget talking about wastage?
Yes, Dr. Nyakango, she talked about it, and is a public in a public domain.
Right.
And it's so sad, and it's because she highlights State House being one of the spenders,
okay,
extravagant department, and so many other departments. So it's across the board, this cuts across the board in the government ministries and departments, which is it's becoming it's a ghost, and sometimes you wonder, where did the rain start
beating us?
Yes.
And of course, there is this argument from several politicians, including the one I've mentioned, because for him, he has gone public. Yes. He has been on several media stations saying that actually what we are owing the debtors out there is not what we are claiming to owe. In fact, he says we owe the debtors out there much less. Smelling a rat? Is it an issue of corruption? Is it an issue of typing error? What is it?
I think it's also in the public domain,
right,
that in the Eurobond that is maturing this year, there is 500
billion?
500 billion US dollars.
US dollars?
Yes.
That's a lot of money. Not Kenya money?
Not Kenya money, but US dollars. Did not go through the exchequer. This money found its way from SIB, the Standard International Banks.
Yeah.
It comes, but where it went, it is not known.
Oh my.
So most likely, this money would have found its way into some people's pockets, and you cannot account for it. And so it could be.
And that is in the public domain.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it could be many more, such information which we do not have. So when you see Wanjigi, when a politician, a very popular politician, goes into public and states that
they must be having facts.
Something could be somewhere. Yes.
Back to the same question. I'll ask it until I get some kind of satisfaction. Will this generation that is coming, because really this is huge, will this generation that is coming really ever come out of debt? Is there hope?
Good question.
Yes, because it's still piling.
There is hope, but
okay, if we are talking of 3 trillion in 1.5 years,
yes,
10 years at the same rate, we may be hitting 20 trillion.
Yes, because I said, even from what we what we bought back,
right,
we'll end up paying topping up to repay this loan. And you see, it's a cycle. And you see, because corruption still with us, meaning there is no transparency and accountability in the utilization of public funds.
Right.
We will have this problem. They maybe to not the near future, maybe I don't know when, but let the youth of this country know that we continue paying these debts.
Okay.
Yes. But then you see, as the youth, something has to be done. We
political will, maybe.
We can't just sit. Yeah, we can't sit. And let things happen for themselves. It won't work.
So if I try to hear you, or continue.
Yes, the youth of this country need to come out, and be listened. I'm not talking about the youth in parliament. I'm talking about the ordinary youth.
Yeah.
The youth who is unemployed. They should come out.
But the last week I made a very serious talk here, and I got very interesting comments.
Yes.
I spoke about the role of the cities of Kenya.
Yes.
And I mentioned Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, Eldoret, and Kisumu.
Yeah.
And I brought out how these urban centers are growing very fast. And I explained and I said, these are the cities that are going to bring this country out of being this second world. But are we third world? Yeah, out of third world into second world.
Yes.
And someone was telling me, actually, with the kind of debt that we are facing, that is hot air. I don't know if you agree with that. That we may never ever get into second world as long as we have a huge public debt.
Of course. Yes. Because the problem what we have is our priorities in allocation of our resources. And as I said, Kenya is we have an advantage in agriculture.
Right.
Yeah. And our emphasis should be towards that advantage.
Jomo Kenyatta got it right.
Yes, you look at neighboring countries here, Tanzania.
Right.
I've had some friends, few friends, some doing farming. They just tell me the government has designated areas for, if it is rice, it is rice. If it is maize, it's purely maize. So the government provides an enabling environment so that the people can thrive. People support in terms of farming inputs. But you see, Kenya, for instance, we grow tea,
coffee,
coffee and pyrethrum. You know, when you are growing up, we had a lot of it, but at one point things died down.
Right.
My dad uprooted all the pyrethrum. The coffee which was there, the trees were cut. Then we moved to bananas because maybe there was some return. People went even to do some sugarcane farming. But see, we even used to have research extension officers in the villages with those motorbikes.
Yes, yes, you remember them.
Yes, remember them. They could visit the farmers and advise them on how best they can get yield from the land. But you see, I really don't know what the priorities of the CS for agriculture, what is, because since Kenya we are endowed with a very good climate, we need to go for what we are at best. We will use little resources but maximize the return. Kenya must produce more than consuming.
I think you need to say that loudly to this coming generation? Because when I hear that term, Kenya must produce, it means some things we need to relearn. Because when we had Jomo Kenyatta,
Yes.
remember Jomo Kenyatta focused on agriculture.
Yes.
And then he focused on education. That was a very good focus because it targeted the youth. He gave very good education, and at the same time, he ensured that the farmer is producing.
Yes.
Unfortunately, somewhere along the way, corruption and all manner of things came in,
Yes.
and we slowed down. But if we kept that tempo, because people say we were much richer than Singapore then, and many nations, then corruption came and pushed us back.
Yes.
So it means that we can learn again. Maybe we need to take civic education to the upcoming generation. You know, go back into production. Go back into production. Maybe.
Yes. You know, civic education is a good thing.
Right.
But is there goodwill from the government?
Political
the
will you're talking about?
Yes, the political will. If it is not there, you see, for any budget, it has to go to Parliament for approval. You get it?
Yeah.
Jonah?
Yes.
Yes. If they feel this thing will work against them, do you think it will see the light of day? It will not, I assure you.
So there's no.
That's why you see when
will.
so many NGOs are blackmailed there when they want to do civic education, they'll always be closed down because the government will allege, think this it's working against the government, want to campaign against the government. So we rather do away with these NGOs. Those budgets, I don't know away with. So,
but then what would you label? You know, training the youth on productivity? Is that civic education? You know, just looking for forums where they can be taught productivity, because from what you're saying, it's like our hope lies in productivity. Because somebody, actually this was told to me by a resident of the UK. I asked him a question. I told him, our country is broke.
yes.
He laughed. And he told me, you see what you do, Jonah, when you're broke? You work. He told me the answer is in working. So the youth need to be taught how to be productive.
Yes, so what the government needs for the youth of today, is a digital youth, is someone who knows something to do with IT.
Right.
The government, what needs to do is just to have the Wi-Fi centers should just provide internet to its citizenry, especially the youth. Internet for the old people won't help much. A young man, maybe somewhere in Moranga, can go to YouTube and learn how to keep poetry. When
this morning I met a young person who made 6,000 on his phone. I don't know what he was doing, but he made 6,000 just like that.
Yes, and that is what we call that is also production. We call a soft, offering rendering services.
Yeah,
is part of production. I had the president talk about it. Some of our youth are still earning some money online. We have some tasks, some companies who are doing research, and they need some to collect data, do some data mining. Then we have guys who want to analyze that data to give a meaning of information. And that is the work for the young people. Not those old people who don't understand about, for example, a spreadsheet. For example, a Google document.
wow.
So
Imagine our time is gone.
That is basically what the youth of today can do.
Yes.
The government should provide enabling environment by
Well said.
giving internet, yes, availing internet to the young people.
Well
All
said.
the centers across the country. And these young people will know how to do the farming.
Yes.
they'll know how to render services,
That's
online services.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Donald Obonyo, Country Director, Gigi.
Yes.
Thanks a lot. It's been a pleasure to have you. This has been Politics Today. My name is JONAH SIMBA. Keep in touch with us and keep working hard. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.